and welcome to Shell Point Today for Tuesday, September the 27th. I'm Rich Nation.
And I'm Mary Kay Grimaldi. On today's show, we'll have another FineMark Minute from the financial sector about the importance of designating beneficiaries. Beth Crenshaw will find out about this year's Bakeless bake sale, and Pastor Andy Hawkins will discuss his Academy class on the biblical view of church and state.
But first, don't forget that now through Saturday, October 1st, the Community Thrift Store is the place to get 75% off on all furniture, area rugs, and lamps. It's a great place to find that final piece of decor for your living room at a huge savings. The thrift store is open today through Saturday from 9 a.m. till 4 p.m.
And another savings you'll want to take advantage of is the Island Salon and Spa, now through October 1st. You can save 20% on a manicure when you purchase a haircut and style. Give the salon a call at 489-8400 to make an appointment.
Your best laid plans for distribution of your wealth may not go as intended if you do not pay close attention to the titling of your accounts and designating beneficiaries. If done incorrectly, it can have legal implications and may supersede your estate plan. To learn more about this from someone who knows more than I do on the subject, we'll have another FineMark Minute from Anna Smith.
Managing Executive with FineMark National Bank and Trust on the island. In today's FineMark Minute, we are discussing common methods of titling assets and how it can affect ownership of the assets upon death. Your best laid plans for the distribution of your wealth may not go as intended if you do not pay close attention to the titling of your accounts and the designation of beneficiaries. If done incorrectly, it can have legal significance and can supersede your estate plan. Typically, personal accounts are owned entirely by you, titled solely in your name, owned jointly as husband and wife, or owned by a trust. An IRA is an example of an account that must be titled solely in your name. Other accounts, however, can be owned entirely by you, jointly with others, or by your trust. Types of joint ownership in Florida include joint tenants with right of survivorship, tenants in common, and tenants by the entireties. The titling of an account impacts your estate plan because an account owned jointly with a right of survivorship will pass automatically to the survivor or survivors of the joint owners, regardless of what your estate planning document provides. Beneficiary designations allow you to designate who will own your account after you die. Many different types of accounts allow you to make beneficiary designations. Like account titling, beneficiary designations can impact your estate planning. To ensure that account titling and beneficiary designations match your estate planning, you should review them on a regular basis and when a life event occurs, such as a marriage, death, or the birth of a child or grandchild. This way, your accounts will not be left to the wrong person. If you have any questions, we are always available to help. Just stop by the bank on the island or give us a call at 461-5999. With today's FineMark Minute, I'm Anna Smith.
It's that time of year again for the Bakeless Bake Sale, a fundraiser by the Pavilion Auxiliary. To tell us all about the plans for this year, here's Volunteer Manager Beth Crenshaw, along with Auxiliary President Jane Haines.
Hello, Shell Point. I'm Beth Crenshaw, and today I am joined with Jane Haines. She's the president of the Pavilion Auxiliary. And today, Jane is going to share with us quite a bit of information about the Bakeless Bake Sale. This is an annual event that happens, and because of my new position here with the auxiliary, I'm relying on Jane to share a lot of information with all of us so we can all learn a bit more about this wonderful fundraiser, and it really is.
Yes, and one of the things you need to know, you don't have to bake a thing. It really is Bakeless. When I first heard that term, I thought, Bakeless bake sale. But it's a fundraiser, and so we don't want your talents in baking. We want your money.
Okay, good. Calorie free.
Yeah, that's right, right. And that's really, it's our major way that we have for income is the Bakeless bake sale.
Okay.
And we set a goal that we'd like to have about $30,000.
Wow.
And that's kind of how we do our budget with that. And last year, I think we raised 28.5 or something like that. So we were close.
Very good, yeah.
And one of the things, well, several of the things that our money does, it's for our residents in the pavilion in one way or another.
Okay.
That we have purchased little individual DVDs so that they can watch a movie and not disturb their roommate if the roommate doesn't want to see it. So that's been a boon. We always get subscriptions to the newspaper. Hopefully they find something in that newspaper they want to read, so that is there for them. We use some of our money for pavilion staff. This past summer, we had a couple of the staff members that wanted to take the virtual dementia course.
Oh, sure.
That was elsewhere. I can't remember where it was, but anyhow, there was a fee involved. And so we sent 2 pavilion employees, and then they were going to come back and instruct the staff
Oh,
for
that's wonderful.
what they had learned. So that was a good use of money.
Right.
We made a goal 3 years ago. We had a board member that said, you know, I walk into the pavilion and sometimes I think I'm in Days Inn, that it just is not classy or whatever. So we decided we were going to snuff it up a bit. So last year we did a lot of remodeling or refurbishing on the first floor. It's not quite done yet. We're still waiting for a couple of lazy boys.
Okay.
The ones that they ordered came, but it was almost like when you hit the button to get out, it was almost like ejection. And we decided we probably didn't want to do that for the residents there in the pavilion.
Right.
So those went back, and we haven't gotten the others yet.
Okay.
But they painted the walls on first floor in the living areas and hung some gorgeous pieces of artwork. And the area by the library has some new comfortable chairs.
So some beautification projects.
Yes, it really has done. And in all the areas they've done something. So when the chairs come, I think we're finished with first floor.
Oh,
so
good.
then we'll move on up. Doug, the administrator, has been working as to what else they want to do. And so I'm sure he'll have some ideas and say, you want to pay for this? You want to pay for that? But anyhow, we have a meeting next week, so we'll see where we go.
Okay. Okay.
But that's kind of how our money goes.
It all goes to support,
Yes, to support
everything
the
there at
people there.
the pavilion,
Right.
yeah, and that beautification project certainly. You know, when you walk in a place for when even families visiting,
Right.
friends are visiting, it's nice to feel comfortable too, and aesthetically pleasing to the eye is always
And I think
nice.
it is. Every
Good.
time I walk in, I'm just thrilled with what I see. And when I
That's
see
great.
people using the chairs, sitting there, enjoying company with family or whatever.
Right.
It's a warm fuzzy for me, and I like it.
and none of that could have been done without the Bakeless bake sale.
That's right. And so really, it's all of our residents here in the Shell Point communities that have a part in that. They're adding to it. And hopefully, well, maybe we don't want them to have to be in the pavilion, but if ever they do, we hope that it's pleasing to them.
Sure. Now, how does someone get involved in participating in this fundraiser? I know that it runs October 1st through October 15th.
Yeah, I think we're the 3rd or the 17th this year.
Oh, okay.
But,
So
but
I
it's very
didn't-
similar to that.
Okay, so it's typically around that same
Yes.
time frame.
Yeah, the
All
first 2
right.
weeks in October.
First 2 weeks of October.
Every resident will get an envelope
Okay.
that we want them to send back with money in it. But there will be the letter explaining how they can make their contribution, and also what we've done with our monies in the
Okay.
past. That none of it goes in our pocket, it goes elsewhere.
Yeah.
So it's
All back to the pavilion
all
community.
back to the pavilion, right.
Yeah.
So we will have, what do we send out? Maybe about 1,400 or 1,500 when you think of couples and all. So,
Okay.
So everybody will get one. And if you
Okay.
don't, give us a call. We'll make sure you get one.
And where do they return these envelopes to?
It goes back to Carl Meyer, who is our treasurer. And,
Okay.
and the envelope says that. It
Okay,
has
so
his
that's
name and
already
address. Mhm.
indicated on there.
So he gets it and makes our report to us as to how we're doing. So.
Good. Well, thanks for joining us today, Jane.
You're
and-
very welcome.
And I hope this is a very successful event this year. And
hope so.
I'm really looking forward to learning more about it and
Very good.
working together with you.
Just
to make
watch
it a
all
success.
the items. There will be news everywhere.
So you've heard it from Jane. There'll be news everywhere on the Bakeless Bake Sale.
Right.
And if you are interested in participating or have more questions, there's the phone number at the bottom of the screen that you can call. Thank you.
The relationship between church and state has often been a difficult and controversial subject. Many see them as opposite ends of the spectrum and should be separate as possible. However, the Bible has important things to say about the nature of the church and civil government. Village Church Pastor Andy Hawkins will present a biblical view of church and state in tomorrow's Academy class, and he visits with Teri Kollath now to give us more insight.
In this time when we're all focused on politics, we've been so blessed in this community to have 3 residents, 2 retired political science professors, another resident who's a mathematician, and also to have our own senior pastor who is willing to jump in and really kind of refocus us all on what's the bottom line here. And we decided, with your wisdom, to call it a biblical view of church and state.
That's right. Pretty hot topic, isn't it? Yeah, that's
It's a
right.
very hot topic.
People, it's always an issue, and obviously the sort of the political sort of wisdom of the day, and when I say day, I'm talking about our generation, is very much concerned about how the church relates to the state and whether or not there can be certain types of influence or not in various kinds of ways. And I think it's important that we, first of all, celebrate the fact that we live in a country where there's religious freedom, and recognize that all the different points of view can be heard in our country in legitimate kinds of ways, and how unusual that is across the world. That simply doesn't happen very often. And at the same time, there is a sense in which there is a movement, I think, to try to quelch religious views as being legitimate elements in sort of the public square discussions of values, of policy, things along those lines. And that would be a great shame to lose that kind of perspective. Our country has a rich history with respect to the Judeo-Christian sort of foundation and influences over the years. The values that we enjoy have emerged in many ways from the legal system that emerged from the Old Testament law and all those kinds of things. And the Bible does weigh in on these kinds of issues and helps us understand what responsibilities the state has. And the state is not the church, so the state has certain responsibilities under God that the church really doesn't have. But then the church has certain responsibilities as well, and it's not to be the state. At the same time, individual Christians certainly have their points of view and have an opportunity in our system to express those kinds of things. So we're going to explore the biblical foundations for church and state, and I think it'll be a wonderfully balanced way to understand what our responsibilities are in a culture like ours.
Absolutely. And I've always been taught that with our freedoms, our rights, comes a deep responsibility. And so I think especially now, I'm so grateful for all of you, to just giving these presentations that focus us on the basics, taking away the emotions, taking away the need to try to convince each other of something, and instead look at what this is all built upon.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know it can be a kind of a controversial thing, but we hope to sort of remove the blinders and make sure that we see things in realistic terms. Historically, it's always been pretty much a disaster when the church has tried to be the state. And it's always been a disaster when the state has tried to sort of overwhelm and quelch the church. And so there needs to be a balance between those two elements, those two institutions, which are both ordained by God, and understanding how they're supposed to function effectively in their own domains. And so we're going to explore that and see what the Bible has to say about it.
Balance sounds so good now, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
As always, we're grateful for you to give the presentations that we look forward to, Pastor Andy.
And now it's time to cover all of today's happenings, academy news, menus, and village church connections.
Welcome to the Happenings segment of ShellPoint TV. I'm Dora Robbins.
And I'm Bev Chandley.
Today we're going to tell you all the events that are going on at ShellPoint. We're going to start this morning at 7:15 with Bend, Breathe, and Balance, and that's at the Health Club on the island. Pickleball at the game courts at 8 o'clock. Also at 8 o'clock is Round Robin Tennis at the tennis courts. At 8:15 we have Stamp Ministry in the Stamp Room. At 8:30 we have Ladies Golf, and that's at the ShellPoint Golf Club. Opening Painting, that's at the Art Studio at 9:15. Also at 9:15 is Shuffleboard at the Shuffleboard Courts on the island. At 9:30 we have Match Play Mixed Doubles Tennis, and that's at the tennis courts at the Woodlands. And at 10 o'clock, Susie Q goes to Doc Ford's. 10:15, Through the Bible Study Group in the Offspring Room on the island. And here's Bev to tell you this afternoon's events.
Thank you, Dora. At 12:30, the Bloodmobile will be here at the Village Church, and they'll be here till 6 o'clock to collect your donations. We have 12:30 Mixed Progressive Bridge. That's at the game room of the Woodlands. We have Chronic Pain Self-Management Program at 1 o'clock. That's at the Cove of the Estuary. It's currently full. At 1:15, the Knitters Group will be in the Osprey Room. The Women's Ministry's Prayer for Missions will be in the Hospitality Room of the Village Church, also at 1:15. At 1:30, we have the Stamp Ministry down at the Sable Room of the Woodlands. Fun and Fitness will be at the Community Room of King's Crown at 1:45. At 2:15, we have the Library Book Talk. That'll be in the Social Center on the island. And our final activity of the day is at 2:45. We have Balance Basics, and that's down in the Health Club. Well, we're sure happy to see you here today, and we will see you back here again tomorrow.
Hi, I'm Teri Kollath with your Academy classes for Tuesday. At 9 o'clock, Fracture Black Text Calligraphy continues in the Sable Room of the Woodlands. At 10 o'clock, the implications of the angry voter and the 2016 presidential election will take place in the Grand Cypress Room of the Woodlands for those who have signed up. At 10:30, our Apple iPad shortcuts and time-saving tips class will take place in the Manatee Room for those who have signed up. At 4:30, Ancient Persia and Alexander, Session 2, How the Young Macedonian King Conquered the Known World, will take place in the Grand Cypress Room of the Woodlands, and you can sign up right at the door. I'd like to tell you about what's coming up tomorrow. We're going to look at a biblical view of church and state with our own senior pastor of the Village Church, Andrew Hawkins.
Menus for Tuesday. In the Crystal Room, the Crystal Platter is beef stroganoff, served with egg noodles and roasted beets. For dinner, you can choose from the a la carte menu, and the soup of the day is cream of chicken. In the Island Cafe, the sandwich special is a patty melt on rye with fries for $7.95. All menus are available 24 hours a day at www.shellpoint.net.
Welcome to the Village Church Connections. I'm Don Pullen. I'm here with Arni Shareski, and he's going to let us know about something that's restarting at ShellPoint, a Bible study that men can participate in. Arni, how you doing?
I'm doing well. It's good to be here.
It's good to be here as well. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Arni.
Well, I've been in ministry now for quite a few years and have enjoyed a variety. My wife and I are from Canada, and then we went to the Congo as missionaries, spent about 10 years there, and then worked in the national office of the Christian and Missionary Alliance for 23 years, and then pastored a church on Long Island, New York for about 5 years, and then came to ShellPoint in 1996.
So it's 20 years that you've been here then?
a little over 20 years now.
Wow,
Right.
wow, wow, wow.
And just about the time we arrived, I started to attend the Wednesday morning men's Bible class. And since that time, we've had a variety of teachers and quite a nice attendance of men.
About how many on a typical Wednesday morning?
Well, during the winter season, we usually have about 25 to 30 men.
Wow, that's almost a small church right there.
Right, it's a good little group. We sit in a big horseshoe-shaped setup around tables so that everybody can bring a Bible and relax. We spend about an hour. We start at 7:45 in the morning.
7:45.
7:45.
It's a little on the early side, right?
Right.
But
most of the men are up that time anyway.
Oh, okay.
We think. At any rate, we start at that time. We meet in the Osprey Room at the Activity Center.
Okay.
And have just a wonderful time. We start with some prayer, and then we take some time always to find out if people have needs. Right now, we're studying the book of Deuteronomy, and we'll begin around chapter 28, 29 on Wednesday, September 7th.
So you're almost finished Deuteronomy.
Almost finished.
And what book are you going to next?
Well, we're going to take a fast walk through Joshua to see what happened there.
That's a pretty exciting book, Joshua.
Right. And then we're going to kind of move ahead really fast into, and we did already study Jeremiah.
Okay.
And the Exodus to Babylon. Mm-hmm. But we want to go back to what happened when they got back.
Okay.
To Nehemiah and Ezra. So that's what we'll be studying after that.
Great.
Right.
Who might be interested in coming to a Bible study like this?
Well, we try to keep it quite simple, so you don't have to be a highly educated theological person to be able to participate. And we try to make it quite informal, a lot of discussion going on. Many of the men participate with their comments and their thoughts and their questions, and we don't get to answer all the questions. Some of them are a little more than we can handle, and some of them we just have to leave to God.
Okay, or come back the next week, and if there's a particular thing you really need to cover, you could cover it the following week.
Do a little research, but it's an interesting time. I think the fact that we don't try to make it too much lecture, but it's interaction and a lot of conversation going on, not too complicated, but we do try to get down to the basics of our Christian faith and what it means to walk with God. And we just don't study history, we study history for a purpose.
Okay.
The history of the nation of Israel and other nations as well, to see how God has worked in their lives and how he can work in our lives, because many of the problems they had, we have also.
Okay.
And the solutions are really not that complicated.
So it sounds like this would be good for someone who maybe is just beginning to understand the Bible, or who wants to learn more about what God says in Scriptures, as well as that person that just wants to gather with other men and continue to study and continue to grow in their relationship with Jesus Christ.
We have some theologians there who have a great knowledge of Scripture, and we have others who are what we would call maybe in kindergarten, but they're learning and they're enjoying it. I just get a lot of good comments about the fact that they can all participate, and the hour goes by very quickly.
Great. So that's on every Wednesday morning.
Every Wednesday morning.
7:45 a.m., the Osprey Room.
Osprey Room and the Activity Center.
Great.
Okay.
Something you might want to consider joining. If you're a male, if you're up that early in the morning, why not join the men as they gather and study God's Word together and have that time of fellowship? You can certainly bring your coffee. Thank you for watching the Village Church Connection.
And that will wrap things up for this Tuesday edition of Shell Point Today for September 27th. On tomorrow's show, George Waters will discuss his Coffee with a Neighbor presentation on videography in Cuba. Ruth Duber and David Lee will bring us another What's Cooking installment. And fitness coordinator Ingrid Oliver will talk about the upcoming Zumba classes. We hope you'll join us for these features tomorrow. Until then, I'm Rich Nation.
And I'm Mary Kay Grimaldi. Thanks for watching, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.